Okay, guys, so today's lesson is going to be about graphing in slope-intercept form using word problems. So up until now, we've just been reviewing how to graph in slope-intercept form, which you've done in algebra. But today we are going to start with how to do this with word problems. So there is a PowerPoint slide that's attached to this lesson that goes through like I would do in class. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the notes on the CAMI document so you can see how that would look if you were to do the homework assignment on your own. So remember, in order to do this, all you had to do in the top is when you clicked it, you click open with CAMI, and then you can use all of these features that I'm going to use. So you don't have to complete these notes like I am, but you do have to make sure you complete the homework assignment with this after watching the video. So what they're going to do is they're going to give you the word problem, so I'll give you a second to read that to yourself. So it's saying you and your friends decide to go rafting on Delaware River for the day. Bob's River Paradise offers two different rental options. A 4-person raft costing $10 per hour plus a security deposit of $60, while a 6-person raft costs $20 per hour plus a security deposit of $90. The equations below give the total cost for a rafting trip that takes T hours. So this is just giving you background information, but really all it's doing is it's building these two equations that they give you. So since the first 4-person raft costs $10 per hour, we know that means to multiply, so we have 10T, and a security deposit is like a fee, so we add that to the equation. So this is the 4-person raft, where the 6-person raft is $20 per hour, which is 20T, and we add the security deposit of 90. So these two different equations are going to be what we're going to use to graph. So again, this is kind of like background information, but the really important part is going to be these two equations. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to graph them both on the same coordinate grid here, and then we're going to see what happens when we graph them together. So the first one we're going to start with is the 4-person raft, which is C equals 10T plus 60. So if I were to pull out the important information for that, we know that when we're graphing, we're going to need to use the M, and we're going to need to know the B. So the M is always going to be the one that is multiplied by the variable, or in the case of this problem, is always going to be the rate. So in the case of this problem, it's 10. And we do know when we're graphing slopes that we usually want to put our M over 1, and we'll talk about why that is in a second. And our B in this case is going to be what's ever added. So our B is going to be 60. So I would suggest maybe putting these on your paper when you do the homework, because it's important to know what the M and B are before you start graphing. I'm looking at the 6-person. In the case of this one, our M is going to be 20. Again, you can write this, or there's also the option to type them if you like to type. You can use the equation or the text box. So 20 over 1, and then our B in this case is going to be 90. So once we've identified that, we know that if this were a normal graph we did in algebra, we would probably just like plot the 60, plot the 90, and go up. But a lot like what we did in the last section with word problems is you have to identify a rate here that's going to work and fit all of your numbers. So there's really no way specifically to do it as long as you're staying consistent, but I know for a fact that I can't count by ones here because I'm not going to get all the way up to 60 and I'm not going to get all the way up to 90. So because these are both multiples of 10, you can use 10. You could probably put 5 if you'd like, but if I use 10 here, I can count all the way up to 90, so that's what I'm going to do. It shows you that here, that they count by tens in the PowerPoint slide, but they do only put the multiples of 50, but each box itself is counting by 10. So I'll show you what that looks like. So the first one here would have to be 10. This one would be 20. You could put 30 here. So again, you can list whatever ones you want as long as each box itself is representing a multiple of 10. So this one here would be 40. I'm not going to write it. This one would be 50. And then I'm only going to put now the multiples of 50. So this would be 60, 70, 80, 90. This one would be 100. So you'll notice by counting by tens, I went way past what I need, which is 90. On the x-axis, we don't necessarily need that big of numbers, but I believe in the PowerPoint we counted by ones, just because you don't really need to go over a ton. So it only counted by one, so this first box here would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Again, you don't have to list all of them as long as I can see what scale you're using. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, each box being 1. The other thing you do want to notice is you do want to label your axis. So I didn't leave a ton of room here, but we know that the x-axis is always time. And in the case of this one, our y-axis is going to be cost, because that's what we're trying to figure out, the C, which is cost. So I'm going to do these one at a time, and I'm going to use different colors. So when I graph the 4-person raft, I'm going to use, let's see, green. So this one will be my green, and then I'll use a different one for the 6-person. So if I look at this equation, I know my B is 60, and B is where you always start on the y-axis. So the first point I'm going to plot is at 60, which is this box right above 50. And then when I go to apply my slope, it means count up 10 and over 1. So we know going up 10 is actually not 10 boxes. It's only 1 box because each box is 10. So that means to go really up 1 box and over 1. So this would be my second point. I do that again, go up 1 and over 1, or up technically 10 and over 1. And then I saw a lot of you on your previous assignments were drawing lines, but you can actually use the shape insert line. I'll do it in green. And you can just connect these lines and go through. So as long as they go through all 3 points, it makes that line. And then in order to work with the line, you click on it using the select text. You can put, you can make this bigger if you want. Oops, sorry, not make it bigger. Made it more transparent. You can make it bigger. Ooh. And then you can also add arrows to the end of it if you'd like. It's not necessary, but you can. So that will be our first line. I'll make this a little bit smaller. So the second line I'm going to do in purple. This one does not start at 60, it starts at 90. So if I count 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 90 will be the box right under 100. So that's where my B starts. And then this time it's up 20 and over 1. So if I go up 20, that's 10, 20, which is technically 2 boxes, over 1. If I do that again, up 20, which is 2 boxes, and over 1. That will be my second one. Again, I can add that line in by clicking the first one and just drawing through the other 2. But like, you can get a little fancy, make them a little bigger, add some arrows to the end. But that will be the graph for these 2 lines. Again, notice that they start with the B, so this one starts a little bit higher because it's 90, and that this one's a little bit steeper because it has a little bit larger of a slope. So that will be part A. Again, important things to remember is make sure you are consistent with your labeling. So this X I counted by 1s, the B are on the Y-axis I counted by 10s, and make sure that you're using slope-intercept form to graph. And again, this PowerPoint shows that a little more in depth, but I figured I'd just explain to you how you can use Cami to complete these. So part B is a little bit different. Part B is saying use the graph to find the difference of cost if you go rafting for a total of 4 hours. So here's where we're actually going to use the graphs to answer the questions. So it's asking specifically here for what would it be in 4 hours. So if I take a look at my x-axis, that's time. I'm going to hit 4 hours about here. So this is going to be my 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow that up and look and see what the values were for each of these lines at 4 hours. So if I do that, let's say using black, if I follow 4 up, my green line, which is the 4-person raft, hits 4 at $100. My 6-person raft, if I keep following it up, hits 4 at whatever this is, and if I count up, that's 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160. So my 6-person raft would be at $160 for 4 hours. So to find the difference is subtraction. So all you do is take these two values and find the difference between them by subtracting. So we'll get $60. Or what you could have done is count the box between them. So if I count between them, it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So we get that answer regardless. So you're taking those two lines that you graphed previously, finding where they hit 4 on the x-axis, and subtracting those values. So again, this is not something I expect you to understand completely right away, but take a look at this tutorial, take a look at the PowerPoint slide, and see if you can complete the homework on Google Classroom.